He called them dumb fucks. That's where this starts. Not with the IPO, not with the congressional testimony, not with the metaverse. It starts in 2004 in a dorm room at Harvard when a 19-year-old Mark Zuckerberg is instant messaging a friend about his new website. 4,000 users, their emails, their pictures, their addresses. His friend asks how he got it all. And Zuckerberg types back, "People just submitted it. They trust me." Then he calls them dumb fucks. Facebook has never disputed the authenticity of those messages. Never. Because here's the thing. That wasn't a joke. That was the founding philosophy. Everything that came after was built on that contempt. 3 billion people, and it started with contempt. Let's talk about what he built. The switcheroo plan. That's what Facebook's own employees called it internally in writing. 7,000 pages of leaked documents from 2011 to 2015 laid it out in excruciating detail. The strategy was elegant in the way that fraud is sometimes elegant. Publicly announce privacy protections. Look like the good guy. Then, behind closed doors, make data access easier for companies paying Facebook money. Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, Microsoft. And harder for competitors. Zuckerberg personally reviewed which companies got classified as strategic threats. He personally signed off on exceptions. When Twitter launched Vine in 2013, Zuckerberg's response to a staff email about shutting down Twitter's API access was 2 words. Yep, go for it. His own staff called the plans sort of unethical. One executive asked in writing whether Zuckerberg was comfortable killing the prospects of startups, some of which are good, like Venmo and Tinder. He proceeded anyway, because that's what you do when you think the people trusting you are dumb fucks. And then it gets worse. Netflix. You probably use Netflix. You probably also use Facebook Messenger. What you didn't know, what nobody told you, is that Netflix could read your private messages, write them, delete them, see every person in the thread. This isn't speculation. This is from court documents. Facebook gave Netflix access to something called the Titan API, a private backend that handed Netflix programmatic access to your inbox. In exchange, Netflix provided Facebook with biweekly user engagement reports and eventually guaranteed $150 million a year in ad spending. Reed Hastings, Netflix's CEO, sat on Facebook's board while this was happening. And when Zuckerberg's own streaming service started competing with Netflix, he personally emailed his team to cut $750 million from its budget to protect his partner, while his partner was reading your messages. Over 150 companies had deals like this. Former FTC officials said they probably violated Facebook's consent agreement. And separately, 90,000 developers in China and 42,000 in Russia had access to Facebook user data. Facebook's own internal documents acknowledged this could be used for espionage. Now, the algorithm. In 2016, Facebook's own internal report found that 64% of all extremist group joins on the platform were driven by Facebook's own recommendation tools. Their researchers wrote it plainly: our recommendation systems grow the problem. Zuckerberg knew. In April 2020, his team came to him with a fix: reduce the resharing of posts, which was the primary engine spreading misinformation. He killed it. Employees wrote afterward, "Mark doesn't think we could go broad." He was worried about engagement numbers. Frances Haugen said it as clearly as anyone ever has. Facebook has realized that if they change the algorithm to be safer, people will spend less time on the site, they'll click on less ads, they'll make less money. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's the decision every time. In Myanmar, that decision contributed to genocide. Facebook was effectively the internet in Myanmar. The app came preloaded on virtually every smartphone sold there from 2013 to 2017, with no data charges. For most users, Facebook wasn't a platform, it was reality. And in mid-2014, when Myanmar had 1.2 million active Facebook users, Meta had exactly one Burmese-speaking content moderator. Based in Dublin, the platform was flooded with anti-Rohingya hate speech, calls for ethnic cleansing, post-coordinating violence. The UN fact-finding mission said Facebook was a useful instrument for vilifying the Rohingya. More than 700,000 people were forced to flee. An estimated 10,000 were killed. Amnesty International said Meta had been warned as early as 2012 that its algorithms were contributing to real world harm in Myanmar. 2012. 6 years before the genocide, they knew they optimized for engagement anyway. And Instagram knew it was poisoning teenage girls. Meta's own internal research, their slides, their numbers, showed that Instagram made body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls. 13% of UK teen girls said suicidal thoughts became more frequent after starting on Instagram. 17% said their eating disorders got worse. They knew. They suppressed it. And in 2025, two former Meta VR researchers testified before the US Senate that Meta's legal department intervened to alter, delete, and prevent the collection of data showing sexual exploitation and abuse of children in its virtual reality platforms. After Frances Haugen blew the whistle in 2021, Meta's response was to crack down on internal research. Researchers were told the censorship was for their own protection. The company that surveils 3 billion people told its own researchers they were being silenced to protect them. Then January 6th happened. Between Election Day and January 6th, Facebook groups accumulated at least 650,000 posts attacking the legitimacy of Biden's election. 10,000 posts a day, minimum. Facebook's own civic integrity team, the people with an informal oath to serve the public interest over Facebook's, was dissolved 1 month after the 2020 election. Haugen was on that team. She watched it get shut down, and then she walked out the door with the documents. Meta's response to January 6th? Cosmetic. And then, years later, Meta paid Trump $25 million to settle his lawsuit over being banned after the insurrection. Then, right before Trump's second inauguration, Meta ended its fact-checking program entirely. Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan, praised masculine energy, and flew to Mar-a-Lago. The man who built the machine that helped organize an insurrection paid the insurrection's leader to make it go away. Now, the compound. On the Hawaiian island of Kauai, Mark Zuckerberg has been building something. It now covers over 2,300 acres, more land than some small nations. He's spent over $300 million. The compound includes more than a dozen buildings, 30 bedrooms, 30 bathrooms, 11 tree houses connected by rope bridges, and underground. A 5,000 square foot shelter with a blast-resistant door, metal filled with concrete, the kind used in bomb shelters, an escape hatch accessible by ladder, and its own independent energy and food supply. He called it just a little shelter in a Bloomberg interview, like a basement. Every worker on the compound signed an NDA. Different construction crews were forbidden from speaking to each other. Posting about it on social media was grounds for immediate dismissal. One worker described it as Fight Club. You don't talk about it. Workers speculated among themselves that they were building some sort of post-apocalyptic bunker or a vast underground city. There are hidden cameras everywhere, blind doors designed to look exactly like walls, motion detection, keypad locks, soundproofed rooms. His total investment in that compound now exceeds the entire annual operating budget of Kauai County. And part of it sits on top of a native Hawaiian burial site. A man named Julian Ako spent months negotiating with Zuckerberg's estate team just to access and register his great-grandmother's burial plot on land Zuckerberg owns. The state confirmed the probability of additional burial sites. Zuckerberg's team was reportedly made aware of this as early as 2015. In 2016, he filed quiet title lawsuits against more than 300 people, living and dead, with ancestral claims to the land. After public backlash, he dropped the suits and said he regretted them. But his shell company kept buying. When the suits were filed, he owned 24% of the disputed parcels. By 2018, 44%. The lawsuits stopped. The acquisition didn't. A law professor at the University of Hawaii called him the face of neocolonialism. When news of the bunker broke, it triggered a buying frenzy for doomsday shelters among other billionaires. One shelter company CEO said, "If he's doing that, maybe he knows something that I don't." Maybe he does. Or maybe, and this is the conclusion the evidence leads to, He's not preparing for some external catastrophe. He's preparing for the consequences of what he built. He has access to more personal data than any government in history. He has watched his platform contribute to genocide, to insurrection, to a generation of teenagers in psychological crisis. He has seen every internal warning, every suppressed study, every whistleblower. He knows what's in those documents. And he's building a bunker. That's not a man who thinks he's innocent. That's a man who knows exactly what he did and is building walls high enough that it can never reach him. The dumb fucks trusted him, and he never forgot that they did.